start to put tension on my string drawback, I was like, okay, I'm gonna smoke.
It's him. You can look at the horns when he's dead. I'm in the zone. Let the arrow go is perfect.
When they lose their front shoulders, that's how you know they're smoking.
Went about 5-10 more yards. He probably went 20 yards total. Tipped over, tried getting back up. I saw him pull up.
We rushed 40 years rods that night. We got like 166 and something like that, and then the next day we came out to 163 even.
You're listening to the White Cat Outdoors podcast, bringing you to the table where we talk about the outdoors.
What's going on, guys? This is episode 77 of the White Cat Outdoors podcast, and Nick didn't trust me. He thought I was going to be wrong about what episode number it was.
Had to check.
Yeah, we figured it out, and we're good to go. So Nick's here, and my father, who hasn't been on in quite a while, just got back from Alaska.
Thanks for having me back, guys. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. It's been a real long time. I think the last time you were on was when we were in Harrisburg. Were you on?
No, the Father's Day
We
special.
did the
Father's Day. Yeah, that's right.
With,
That's right.
It was Todd.
Yeah, it was back.
It
was still early. It's been a while.
But that was Father's Day a year ago.
Yeah, so it's still almost been a year.
Yeah.
It's almost like a 1-year anniversary.
Yeah, almost. So yeah, we just want to talk about your Alaska trip. You just got back from doing the spring brown bear hunt.
Yeah.
So that's what it was, spring brown bears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we were doing. It was good time, real good time this year.
You didn't get to do it last year. They canceled it because of COVID.
Yeah, that was kind of a raw deal. COVID kind of runs rampant out there on the river all by yourself.
Sure.
400 miles from nowhere.
Yeah.
Really decimated the moose and bear population, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're dropping like flies out there.
Yeah.
But no, but it was a pretty cool hunt.
Out there with the same guy this year?
Same outfitter, Alaska Elite Outfitters, Mike Vanstrom.
Okay.
This is 3 years I've been with him now, and really like the guy. He's a lot of fun to be around, pretty easygoing. He's willing to put up with myself and a couple of the other guys up there that are
Brad.
becoming regulars. Brad, you've all met Brad.
Yeah, he's tough to deal with.
But it's all good, clean fun. We bust each
of
other's
course.
chops. So. But this was actually kind of a new experience for me as well, because I'd never done this style of hunt, this spring river bottom brown bear hunt. And the general gist of things is we weren't far from where we do our moose hunting, riverboat miles within 150 miles, which up there is pretty close. Mm-hmm. But basically what we were doing was before the clients started coming in, we were out scouting the riverbanks and the islands on the main river looking for winter kill moose. And those river bottoms are pretty thick, and it's not like you're just going to walk around in them and go.
Oh, there's one.
There's
one.
Right,
Blast them from a
jump
distance.
them like rabbits or whitetails here in Pennsylvania. So
Yeah.
Then when you find those winter kill moose, that's where you're going to park yourself. And it's, like I said, it's not the most exciting thing in the world while you're waiting, but you're generally, a lot of your setups are only 30 to 75 yards away from where you're at. So when things start to happen, it gets a little more exciting at that point. Quite often the bears are coming in and doing a little circle or coming downwind, and they're leery about just popping out and exposing themselves. So,
but that is literally like the only food source that time of year, because there's no salmon in the river. It's too early for berries to be out on the tundra, so your only option basically is to be on those.
They're scavenging.
Yeah,
they're scavenging. They're coming out of their dens. If they can find any kind of grass to chew on, they've got to get some kind of vegetation in their system.
Mm-hmm.
But everything they do is pretty much in that river bottom. And we're trying to get on them. We had 2 10-day seasons this year that we had clients, and basically what happens, you're trying to get on that first 10 days as quick as you can. Mm-hmm. You don't want them dispersing and going about their business.
So are you guys basically getting on them like they're coming out of their den as you're there, or like are they out before?
No, they've already been out. Okay, so they've come out of their den depending on the year, 1st of April, middle of April. Mm-hmm. And they're just trying to get their system jump started, and they'll kill a moose. And a lot of times when they're killing those moose, the first thing they're eating is their gut contents. because
Oh,
that's
yeah.
partially digested vegetation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they're more interested in that than they are
Eating
all
the
that
meat.
red
I
meat.
never
and
would have
fat.
guessed that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's kind of neat. They will literally clean out the entire intestinal system and guts and
Before
then
they go.
before they touch any meat, and then they'll move up into the lungs, the liver, and the heart, and that kind of stuff. And they will have that moose hollowed out before they start eating
wow.
meat. You know, but and it's funny because somewhere, somehow, they always seem to find some leftover frozen berries someplace. 'Cause
Yeah.
you'll see it in their scat. There'll be some cranberries or blueberries that, I don't know, their nose is that good. They find whatever's out there, you know. But it's meager in the spring. So
Mm-hmm.
Now, you guys can't bring bait out, can
no,
you? Alaska's
we're-
no baiting. Okay.
no baiting, and we're not even allowed to move that moose carcass.
Okay, that's
So
probably
where we
something
find
to-
that moose carcass. That's where it's got to stay. And that's
Even
where
if
we
there's
got,
no shooting lanes or anything.
you're allowed. You can prune a branch.
Okay.
You know, but yeah, you can't start dragging that moose carcass up and down the river.
Not that that's an easy task to begin with.
Well, no, it's, 1,200 pounds of
Yeah.
blob. So, but yeah, no, but it, like I said, it's a patience game. Our responsibility is to find those places for guys, and if you're a patient person, it will usually pay off. I mean, again, there's no guarantees in life.
Now,
but
the guys that are signing up for this hunt, do they know typically the way that these style hunts go?
they should, because we explain it to them.
Yeah.
We tell you, this is what you're getting
You give them
into.
every opportunity to understand that before they book it.
And this is actually, I mean, if you're somebody who's not in the perfect health-wise conditions, or maybe you got a bum knee or something like that, I mean, we're literally doing all the work with a jet boat. And there's
No hiking around.
very minimal hiking. I mean, we might do a little walk there's a couple places where, in our particular area where I was at, where I can walk a few hundred yards and glass out across the tundra. But then again, if you're someone who can't walk, there's not a lot of purpose in doing that, But your best bet is camping on that moose carcass and waiting for that bear to show up. So, but it was, like I said, very productive. Very productive. This
Is
year.
it typically about the same as far as success rate, as far like with spring and fall? Are they roughly similar? Because I mean, the style of hunting is very different. But do you typically kill as many bears, or do you see a difference?
Boy, I would say our success rates ran about the same, really, because you still have all the other factors in mind. You still have weather. You still have your moon phases, which everybody's will argue back and forth as to what moon phase is the greatest to hunt, and it's just my personal opinion. When we get to a full moon phase, I think that's the worst time, because that full moon just encourages
Them out to
animals
be out late.
to move all night long.
So you do
and
see
spend
a
less time
pattern
with-
a bit with the moon?
I do, yeah,
I think you're right. I mean, if you get a combination of like clear skies and a full moon,
They
at
run
least
all
around
night long.
Yeah.
I know I can't speak for Alaska, but I know back home, like Pennsylvania, if you got a clear sky with full moon, you're probably not going to do very well morning hunting.
No, that's
Yeah.
no, and that's the same thing that we've run into up there.
Okay.
And like I said, and I know there's guys that just live for the full moon. They just can't wait till that full moon comes out, and if it works for you, by all means,
Have at
we've
it.
said it before, go for it. If
Yeah.
it works for you, do it. I'm never telling anyone to change what they do
Oh,
if
yeah.
they've had success on it. But it's just what we've noticed. And but we killed some really nice bears.
Well, okay, so I'm kind of ignorant to this as well as probably a lot of people listening. What is considered a good bear or a nice bear?
All right. Well,
Because black bears around here are obviously drastically smaller than what a good brown bear in Alaska is.
well, yeah, when you compare them to brown bears. But where we're at in southwest Alaska, now we're not down on the peninsula or Kodiak, but we're southwest mainland, Nushagak River drainage. And not that we don't get those big 10-footers that you hear about on the peninsula and stuff like that. We do, but they're far fewer in between. Where we're at, any bear that's over 8 feet, I'm going to suggest you shoot that bear. It's a pretty good bear for our area. This spring, in the first 10-day hunt, we happened to kill 2 that were over 8, 1 that was pushing up on 9, and 1 that was 9.5.
Wow.
And we had 5 hunters, and then we had a couple guys, a couple guys shot bears that were under 8 foot, but they were happy with the bear. And
Is there any size restriction to bears?
size, no. If you read the regs book in Alaska, it has to be a lone bear in its 3rd year of life.
So that's kind of
And,
tough,
and
I guess.
well, basically what that's telling you is it's no longer a cub with its mother.
okay.
You know, those cubs are usually with her their first 2 years of existence. They don't want you shooting sows and cubs. So by the time that bear's out on his own, he's might only be 2 years and in a few weeks, but he's in his 3rd year of existence. You know, so,
Okay.
you know, she's booted
So you're
him
only
away.
allowed to kill boars? Is that what you're saying?
No, you're allowed to shoot sows if
Just
they're a lone
if
bear.
they're alone, okay.
And they're older. You know, they're not a cub with their mother.
Curious as if it's
Yep.
easy to tell. Can you? I guess you've been up there quite a few times. Like standing out over a moose carcass, can you tell the difference between your sows and boars?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, in most cases, I mean, like I said, if you're looking at one of them 3-year-old animals, you know, it's not as obvious. But if you take the time to look, their
For
heads
mature
are
animals, more easy.
oh
to tell.
much more easy. Yeah.
Okay.
If they start to develop and they get all their true features, it's not a hard thing to tell boars from sows.
Okay.
So, but
What's the weapon of choice typically? Do you see up there when guys go up there for brown bear?
we've been seeing more and more archery hunters that want to come up, and we had
We had a couple last fall archery hunters.
yeah, yep. And when you're hunting a carcass like that, that's really your best time to try to archery hunt one, because you know right where that bear's going to end up. You can set yourself up for
You
that
know exactly how far.
30-yard shot, maybe 40 if things are right. You know, we have tree stands. Believe it or not, we put some tree stands up on some
Really?
of them. Yeah, even though they're sitting there on the edge of the river, if it's the right situation, we can pop a tree stand up there and give you a 30, 35, or 40-yard shot. We will. One of the clients that Brad and I had was a father and son. They both came in with bows, and the son shot his bear at 15 yards with a bow.
On the ground?
Well, he was up in one of our tree
Okay.
stands that we put up.
But still, 15 yards with a bow and a brown bear
Yeah.
is
Yep.
pretty wild.
So yeah, no,
Do you
it
have
was.
any clue of what size or how big of an arrow they're using, like weight-wise?
I don't. The
Because
one
you're
I know
not
the-
going out there with a whitetail rig. That's
No,
for sure.
you
Definitely
definitely
not.
want something with a little weight to it. You're not supposed to use mechanical broadheads in Alaska.
It's illegal in most
Yes.
places in
Yep.
Alaska.
Yeah, you're supposed to have a fixed blade arrow. And obviously, you know, bears aren't thick-skinned animals like a moose, you know, or an elk. You know, their skin's actually relatively thin, but it's still a big animal. You know, so
Yeah.
you still have, you know, good
A lot of
sized bones
cavity.
that you could hit. You got you know, heavy shoulders and a lot of muscle. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It really was. We by the time the second 10-day hunt came around, we were getting into. I think we started it on the 20th, and by that time the cows were starting to drop their calves, and
That probably amps up the bear activity a lot.
it really changes things, because now them bears are really chasing the cows and calves. And that first 10 days, Brad and I were up, one river that runs into the Nushagak, and in the first 10-day hunt, we're sitting on those carcasses, and we killed 3 bears with our 2 clients. You know, one guy shot 2, one guy shot 1, and they were out of there. And one of those bears that Brad shot was a 9-foot bear. You know, we didn't give it an official measurement, but it was a pretty good size.
You've
right
seen
up
enough,
there
yeah.
close to
Yeah, I've seen enough to know that that was a 9-foot bear. If not, it wasn't missing by much. The client that I had shot one that was well over 8. You know, probably 8.4-ish, 8.5, maybe 8.6, somewhere in there. It was a really nice looking animal. And then Brad's client had actually, the first bear he shot, they were sitting there, and Brad saw a bear kind of working its way through the brush, and he kind of leaned over and he told Larry, he's like, "Hey, here comes your bear. Pay attention now." And the moment that it stepped out, Larry plastered it. And Brad's like, whoa, It's like he saw the gun come up, and before he could stop him to even look at it,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they knew it was a lone, and they knew it was a legal bear, but they just didn't know
how big it was.
how big it was yet. And Larry's like, "You said it was a good bear. There was a bear coming, and I could shoot it. I was shooting." He's like, "Well, let's go look at what you got." And he was tickled pink. I mean, it was still a nice looking animal,
Mm-hmm.
but he decided to shoot a second one, and
So I'm-
and he was a little more patient that time, and ended up with a really, really nice animal.
I didn't realize you could have like 2 bear tags.
In our area. Now,
Okay.
like you said, as you travel around Alaska, there's a lot of different rules. So,
Yeah, I didn't even. It was just up until this year that I didn't realize. Like, so you everywhere you've ever moose hunted, it seems, or guided, there's that 50-inch restriction.
Correct.
I didn't realize that that's not statewide.
No.
Um,
No, there
So
are.
I guess Alaska. I mean, it's half the size of the U.S. So treat it like
A lot of room for different
Yeah,
regulations.
exactly.
Yes. So depending on where you're at, you've got
2 bear tags. Huh.
Yep. Yeah.
So is there? I mean, how much of a price increase if you're on a guided hunt? I'm assuming you don't buy both tags, or do you kill one and then go back and get another tag, or how does that work for
yeah.
your guided system? I guess.
With Mike there, he is a licensed vendor, so he can issue you a second tag.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, you might take you a day to get back and to him to buy it, because we had, like I said, we had 5 hunters, but we're scattered all about, literally 75 miles of river.
Closest sports store is quite a ways out there.
Yeah, so Mike is a licensed vendor, so he's able to issue you a second tag if you want, and then whatever fees he has. I don't get into into the money end of things. I'm not there for that. That's his end of it. But I'm sure if you went onto his website,
Yeah, I'm sure it's a discount of. It's not like buying a new hunt.
Oh yeah, it's not like buying a new hunt. No, it would be the license cost and whatever the kill fee is that Mike has established. So, and but then like I said, the second 10-day hunt, we had 5 more hunters come in, and the weather got real hot. We ended up with a full moon, and the calves started dropping, and all the activity shifted from where Brad and I were at on those carcasses down to the lower river delta, where all the islands were in the river, and the cows were dropping their calves. I mean, you could just
Do
see.
they tend to do that on the islands?
Yes.
They don't.
Yeah, the cows move out onto those islands and secluded areas, trying to get away from the bears and the wolves and all that kind of stuff. They know it's safer out there than it is, on the mainland and stuff where the bears and wolves can get to them.
Now, does a calf have any chance against a bear if that bear decides he's going to chase a calf down? Like, can a calf outrun him or not really?
No.
Okay.
No. And I was talking to some of the guides that were down in those lower camps down there, and they said they would watch bears all day long, just
Really?
chasing cows and calves, and the cows are going after the bears.
Really?
They
That
ain't
motherly
afraid. They ain't
instinct,
afraid to throw hooves at them. Trying to help the calves get away.
Now, is a bear? They're not a species that'll just kill for fun, are they?
No, they're gonna kill it and eat it.
Well, so they're not going to go out on like a killing spree. They're going to kill one and eat it.
No, they'll kill more than one if they can.
Okay.
They'll kill the 2 calves,
Stock up
and
if they
then
can.
they'll kill
Okay.
mom, and they'll get them all piled up there, and then nothing will go to waste after that. But they won't
Okay.
pass up an opportunity to
stock some food away.
stockpile some food. So
I mean, I guess that makes sense. They're survivalists. They gotta
Yep.
if they got an opportunity for stockpile some meals, they're going
you don't
to.
walk by a free sandwich.
Yeah.
And you were saying that where you guys were hunting at this spring is like one of the main winter areas where they do breed, because like I didn't really realize this until I started going up there, that moose migrate hundreds of miles. It's not like whitetail where if you see this moose right here, he's not going within 10 miles. They travel hundreds of miles.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know it either. I was really shocked by
It's
it.
amazing how far they'll move. I don't know what their limits are mileage-wise, how far they'll move, but they do herd up, and they come down into...
Well, but from where we hunt in the fall to where you guys are in their winter grounds basically is 200 miles.
Well, that's river miles.
Yeah, river miles.
You start...
so. But still, they got to walk the river. They're not going by the way of the crow.
No, they usually don't. They usually follow their water drainages and stuff. But but it's kind of interesting to see just how much they do move, and it's such a where we're at doing this bear hunt. It's such a crucial wintering and calving ground that they don't even do winter subsistence hunts there. The state won't let.
What's subsistence?
That's for the residents and natives.
Oh, okay.
They have far more opportunities to moose hunt than
the 2-week season.
The 11 days that the
11,
sporting guys get to come up that are coming up for their horns and cape and the trophy, for lack of a better way of putting it. But the non-residents come up for their trophy, and then some of them take their meat home, and it's all good. I'm not complaining about any of it. But the residents and the natives, they have far more opportunities to shoot bulls and of lesser size and age, and they get to shoot cows during certain periods of time. But this area is so crucial to the calving and such an important wintering ground that they don't even open it up to winter subsistence hunting.
Mm-hmm.
They do have fall seasons, when the moose are all dispersed. But once they start coming down into that area, it gets closed down to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's pretty neat, though, that the state of Alaska does that.
and I'm sure it happens. I mean, I'm not familiar with every area of Alaska, but
Okay,
I'm sure there's other areas out there that happens in as well.
Mm-hmm.
So those moose carcasses you're sitting on, like I would imagine some of them are bulls. Can you keep racks or anything when you find, because it's not necessarily it's not a shed, obviously.
Correct. But here's the thing: most of those animals are killed during like spring breakup and spring thaw.
Oh, so they don't even have their
So
antlers.
most of them don't. Now we did have a unique situation this year. The one moose that I was sitting on did have his antlers on his head. So something happened to him.
Died early
back
winter.
in December, early winter. And obviously he just froze.
Yeah.
They keep all winter long. But most of them that you're finding are animals that fell through the ice during the winter, got caught in breakup or something like that.
So I guess, can you keep deadheads in Alaska?
Yes, you can. You just have to
Pay your license fees or whatever?
No, I don't think you even have to pay anything for it. You just have to claim it as, you found a winter kill.
You have to report it.
You report it so that
Okay.
Otherwise you're walking around with a set of antlers that you're dragging out of the
No
field.
documentation.
And they're gonna so we just report it and say, hey, listen,
Okay.
here's the situation. And
If I was up there for a spring bear hunt and found a deadhead or something, that'd be a pretty cool trophy to bring
Yep.
back.
no, we actually had one, and it was almost a 60-inch bull, and
Wow.
but I didn't feel like dealing with it, so it's still sitting there on the side of the
It'll
river
probably
there.
be there when you go back.
Yeah.
Well, I won't be hunting there this fall, so
Oh,
it.
oh, that's right. You said you
But
guys
somebody
were-
might grab it. You never know. I mean, it's not like it's in a spot that no one else will see it. So,
Yeah.
but
Do you have any crazy stories this go around? I know last time Frank was up there with you guys, you had camp explosions, and
yeah, no.
I didn't know
well,
if there was anything
it's-
crazy this year.
Boy, it's when you start setting the bar at crazy as
Yeah. We've had it the
camp
past.
explosions and helicopter rides from the military. out of
Bears
camp.
tearing into the camp 3 times a year.
Yeah, I mean everything starts to just pale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not phased by anything.
Yeah, nothing seems to buy. No, everything went really, really super smooth this spring. I mean, no complaints.
Yeah,
no,
see, that sounds
no
like doesn't
surprises.
happen typically in Alaska.
No, usually something screws up your best laid plans. But
Frank said all your boats were running good this year, and
yeah, everything was working really good. Things were just no surprises. No surprises. It was nice. But
any no bears in camp or anything.
no, we didn't even have a bear come into camp this year. I take that back. Brad did. He had one with young kid, the kid that shot his bear with a bow. He come out of the tent one morning and walked down to the boat. He's brushing his teeth, doing whatever, just back and forth. And he'd been out there for a while, and all of a sudden he kind of looked over his shoulder, and just about 25 yards from him was a big old brownie just been sitting there watching him. He was sitting
Just
there
watching them go back
watching
and
him
forth.
go back and forth through camp, and he come flying back in the tent and told Brad, and Brad's like, "Well, you want another? We should have gotten another tag." But he had already shot his bear, so.
So how far apart are you and Brad? I know you guys kind of go up together, but I'm sure you space out a little bit once the hunt starts.
Yeah, what happened was we both ended up the same river drainage, and we've got lucky. We had 4 moose carcasses that were all within about 12 miles of each other.
Oh, okay.
So we ended up camping fairly close together. We weren't too far apart. And he kind of hunted the lower 2, and I hunted the upper 2. And so we got to see a little bit more of each other than sometimes you're 50 miles apart. And
Yeah.
But
So were these like spike camps you guys are kind of
yeah,
setting
it was
up?
pretty simple, pretty basic. We went up there, and you're going to camp reasonably close to where you're hunting, so you're not just running up and down the river. Morning hunts aren't the most productive because you got to run your boat into where you want to sit. So if something's there, you probably just ran it off.
Yeah.
How much light do you guys have?
Well, that's another question.
Yeah,
I
we were
meant to
only
hit
running
on.
on about 5 hours of light or 5 hours of darkness right now while we were up there.
5
So
hours.
quite often we were hunting until anywhere between midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning before it got too dark to see. And then by the time you get back to camp, maybe have a bowl of soup or something just to warm up and a cup of coffee. It's 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning before you go to bed. Now it's going to get light at 5 o'clock. So
Yeah, you don't want to get up at 5 or
Yeah.
4 to go.
yeah, you're usually not going right back out after it again. So you're kind of and knowing that the morning hunt's tough to make productive because of the fact you got to run the
Yeah.
boat in there.
Mm-hmm.
We were quite often just kind of foregoing the morning hunt, get a good night's sleep. The afternoon would be kind of spent checking to see what carcasses had been hit, played with, monkeyed with. If
So
they
you
hadn't
you
been-
are occupying your time
Oh yeah,
while
we're-
you're
oh, yeah.
before and after
Yep.
hunts and stuff. You're just checking baits and
Correct.
or
Yep.
carcasses.
Not baits.
Carcasses. They call them baits.
Yeah. That's,
But and we might do a little more exploration in the middle of the day and
find a new carcass
and
or
maybe
something.
and we did. I mean, I found one after the first 10-day hunt was over. I was just kind of getting prepped for the next group of guys to come in, and I was running down the river, and I looked over, and another one had just kind of bloated and
Floated
come up off the bottom of the river and got pushed against the bank. And
And they'll preserve underwater like that if they fall through the ice.
yeah. I mean, honest to God, some of those moose, you could cut them open, and I'm telling you, you could have eaten a steak right off the hams.
Wow.
Yeah, the water's got, 35, 34 degrees?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's cold. I mean, so they were.
What's the temperature like up there? Because you were up there in May, right?
Yeah, I got up there May 5th, and there was still a lot of snow on the ground.
Oh, okay.
All right, and not so much down in the main river, but up the river that I was on the Cockwalk River, and as we got up there, we got into quite a bit of snow on the banks. So it was nighttime. We were always waking up to ice on. If you left any water in a pot outside,
It was iced.
It was
Okay.
icing up pretty good. So, mid-20s at night, and daytime it was 45, 50 degrees.
Pretty good hunting weather then.
Oh, it was real nice. I mean, you get cold when you're just sitting,
Yeah.
and staring at stuff, and it was kind of rainy, so you always have that dampness.
Yeah.
Did the bears seem to change their patterns with rain?
No, those animals have to live in that
Yeah,
day in
it
and
I
day
mean,
out.
rains
noticed-
200 days a year up there. So
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know like around here it seems like rain may affect a little bit of their movement. I mean, it's still huntable, but I didn't know if there was much of a difference up there.
No, the only thing I've ever noticed that really affects them is wind. If it starts getting really windy, that'll affect the animals more than rain doesn't seem to bother them at all. Temperature doesn't seem to bother them. The temperatures that we find uncomfortable. That 900-pound animal with a fur coat on,
yeah.
25 degrees is pretty darn comfortable for them.
Yeah, I'm
you
sure.
know? So
You had mentioned earlier that they will circle downwind and everything on some of the carcasses. Now, how are you guys setting up in order, I guess, in reference to wind direction when you find these carcasses and setting up your stands or anywhere?
It's a little bit of a game because of the fact that you're stuck on the river, and that carcass is going to be laying, half on the bank, half in the water, until that bear yanks it up a little bit or whatever. You don't have a lot of options for that perfect setup.
Okay.
Now we had a couple of them. We were able to kind of set up across the river on an island, and
That's probably almost perfect then.
yeah, and to try to set yourself downwind, I don't usually try to do that. I try to get myself 90 degrees to the wind direction
Okay.
so that because I'm usually pinned against the bank someplace, if I just park along the bank,
That's where he's going to be
I
walking.
mean, so I'm hoping that I can get myself set up in more of a 90-degree angle so that when he circles downwind, at least maybe my wind that's going in his direction is 50, 75, 80 yards to his right or left, if that makes sense, rather
And
than...
sometimes even your thermals can, from the water, can drag that scent away too.
It does, and the river will channel the wind sometimes, depending on what kind of growth you have on the side of the river. If you've got some taller spruce trees, the wind above the spruce might be blowing across the river, but the way the bluffs and the turns in the river are affecting it, the wind tends to
Channel
run up and down the river channel. So it's a little bit of a game, but like I said, I don't try to get myself downwind necessarily, because then I'm always hoping I'm far enough downwind, which
Gotcha.
more often you're not. By the time you get far enough downwind,
You
Can't
lose
even
it.
see the carcass.
your shot's going away. So I try to set myself up perpendicular to it and give myself, if I got a rifle hunter, I try to get myself in that 75-yard range is what I consider ideal. Obviously, if that doesn't allow, sometimes we're only 50 yards away or whatever, which is still fine. But our archery hunters, we always try to get them in a tree stand, because you're going to end up closer to the carcass.
Yeah.
So we try to get them elevated 15 feet or so and up into a tree, just to help keep that wind hopefully above the bear when he comes in.
How does that work guided wise? Is it like, do you put 2 stands up, or is it a double stand? Or
I like to put 2 stands up. I don't like double stands.
I agree. I'm not a big fan of them. I'm just curious how you guys did it.
No one out there can see what I look like, but I'm by no means a little person.
A 2-man stand's a 1-man stand for
Right.
you.
Yeah.
I feel you there.
So, you start putting someone in a 2-man stand next to
2
me.
full-grown men don't ever fit in a full
and
2-man stand.
We usually don't
anyway.
like each other that much to
Yeah.
want to be that close together. So I like to put 2 stands up, and that way the hunter can have his full range of movement, and he's got his stand, and I'm just there to talk him through it and make sure that he understands what we're looking at. And
Do they have any weird restrictions up in Alaska with like screwing into trees for steps or?
you're not allowed to damage the tree, so we use all ladder stands.
Okay.
We stand them up, lean them against their ratchet, strap them in place. We're allowed to prune a few branches and stuff to make things safe. So, but we're not supposed to be cutting trees down and
Okay.
stuff like
I didn't.
that.
Yeah, I didn't. Or I figured Alaska was probably pretty
there's-
anal about their
right.
trees.
We're not allowed to go and just start laying waste to the
Yeah,
to
and
the area.
putting screw-in steps. And,
No.
Okay.
Now, if you're on a piece of private ground,
Yeah, that's different.
then you're free to do whatever the landowner lets you do. And there's
Is there much private ground out?
yeah, believe it or not, there
Really?
is. And actually, where the one camp that I was in, a friend of ours in Ekwok, he kind of used it for moose hunting, and he let us bear hunt out of it. And so it's there.
I didn't realize that you go that far out there and there's plots of land that
Yeah.
are
Well, and the
private.
native corporations, they own huge tracts of land out there
okay.
all over the place. So, as you deal with different entities, whether it's state land, federal land, mining land, private land, I mean, you have to know whose land you're on and what you're allowed to do with.
Yeah, I think
There are
it
a
was-
lot of different rules, even with different types of state properties.
Correct.
There's different rules.
Yes.
I think I just have a hard time grasping how big Alaska really is, and I mean it's literally like
You could cut it in half, and Texas would become the 3rd largest state.
yeah, it's absolutely insane to like. I mean it's just huge.
It is. No, it's funny because when we fly up there, I can fly from Erie, Pennsylvania to Anchorage cheaper than I can fly from Anchorage to Ekwok, the village that we're starting our hunting operations out of. Yeah, when you start flying around that state, it costs you more to do that than it does to get there.
Wow.
So,
Now how far is like Anchorage to Ekwok?
I want to say it's around 300 miles.
Yeah, I think it's just a little over 300 miles.
So, and
That's where you guys get in the jet boats and
that's
head
where we
upriver.
get in the jet boats, and the one day Brad and I, we went and actually got to go check out an old area that we used to hunt in years ago.
with
where
Smokey there.
Yeah, it was Smokey
Okay.
there with Alaska Private Guide Service years ago. We went up and kind of checked out some of those old stomping grounds. I think we're going to punch a camp in up that way this fall. And
As a guide, or are you going up to hunt there?
well, I'm going to go up as a guide, but to take clients in there again.
Under Mike or
Under Mike, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Smokey retired.
I know
got
he
out of it.
retired, but I didn't know if Mike had been up there or had access to that ground or.
He had to. he had to make it part of his guide use areas. So that's.
But
But yeah,
he's got 2 guides now that have got a lot of time up there, so I'm
Right.
sure it was worthwhile to him.
So, so that Brad and I decided we were going to take a run up there from Ekwok and go check out that camp and another camp that we used to bear hunt out of on another river up there. Total round trip was 200 miles on the river.
Wow.
We left camp, and it was raining a little bit, but the weather forecast said it was going to clear up in a couple hours and be kind of
I'm sure they're perfect all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, they were, right money. It cleared up about the time we pulled back in 12, 14 hours later, just before it got dark.
Yeah.
I think the last 5 miles of our trip was without any rain in our face. But yeah, 200 miles in a jet boat one day.
Getting splattered in the rain all
pelted by
day.
rain. And it's amazing how bad a raindrop feels when it hits you right in the eyeball.
Yeah. At 30 miles an hour.
So
I guess I never realized you were hunting that close to where you used to be.
yeah, it's funny. It can be a big distance on the river, but when you start straight line and then all of a sudden we're only 30, 40 miles apart here, maybe 50 miles away there, and but the river miles just with
Is
the
what kills
twist
you,
and
yeah.
looping around, and
All of a sudden, it's 200 miles.
it's 200 miles. So, but it was if it wasn't for the rain, it would have been a really nice day. Nice to get back up where we used to hunt and check out some of the stuff and look for a campsite again and see what was available up there. And
Is there anything left from when you guys used to guide up there? Or did Smokey pretty much clear everything
oh
out?
no, when you leave an area, you have to clean it. It has to
Completely.
look like it did when you got there. And we would do that every year. When we were done cleaning it up, we'd take pictures of camp and you submit them back to the state and say,
Okay.
here's what things look like when we were done. And we found more than one campsite over the years that wasn't the
They
practice.
took a picture before they set up and said, "Yeah, this is what it
Yeah.
looked like when we were done."
And here's what it looked like when we were done. They took them both on the day they got there.
Yeah.
But no, we're Smokey was always, very anal about putting things back right, cleaning up and not leaving. And he was a big smoker. He was a 3-pack a day smoker.
Jeez.
You would never.
Is that where he got his nickname?
No, it wasn't. Believe it
Really?
or not. No, but you'd
All
never
right.
you'd never find as much as a cigarette butt left
Well,
there.
that's good to
anywhere.
hear.
He was very good about cleaning stuff up. So, but
Good.
and Mike's good about that too. When we put camp away and we're done, it's nice. Looks nice. It looks like somebody cared. It really does. So
Good.
that wouldn't sit well with me, anyways. If
Especially up in that. We do that even snake hunting here. If we see a water bottle, we pick it up. Alaska almost to me feels different. That it's they call it the last frontier. It's you try
but
and keep
there's
it
no
wild.
place up there that hasn't been
Oh, I believe it.
soiled by someone who
Yeah.
didn't care.
Yeah.
You'll
That's too
always
bad.
find evidence of somebody that just didn't care enough.
Butterfinger wrapper under a bush or something.
Yeah.
Always something.
One of the first years I was up there, I was up at Smokey's K2 camp, and I was out back doing a walk looking for some caribou, kind of scouting things out a little bit. And I don't know, I got myself about 3.5, 4 miles from camp and getting up towards some hills back there. And, you're walking along, and it was new to me at the time. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I'm probably one of the few people that have ever been here, looking around, climbing up on the hill to get a better vantage point. And honest to God, I got up about halfway up the hill to this nice little outcrop of rock, sat down, and there was an empty Royal Crown bottle laying there, which I carried 4 miles back to camp and threw away. But it kind of really took away from the whole experience.
Yeah.
You're out there thinking, man, this is really cool.
Yeah,
I'm out there. And
when my dad went up with you, he said he felt the same thing, and they'd get up somewhere and you see like a trapper shack out there, like somebody literally they lived here for quite some time.
Yep.
So it's almost nothing's
there's-
been undiscovered.
you're not seeing anything for the first time. First time for you, but everything up there.
Somebody's been there.
Yep.
That's a hard concept to believe, but
No, but it is nice when people don't let you know they were there.
Yeah.
When you see all you see is footprints. It's a nice feeling.
for sure. Do you have any other trips planned for Alaska besides this fall? Is there much to do throughout the summer? up there?
Oh God, if I wanted to, I could be up there doing fishing camps right now. The king season's going to be starting here. Actually, what's today? The 11th.
11th, yeah.
Yeah, the Kings will be running.
Yeah.
They actually went to, the day I was leaving, a couple of days before I left. They were starting to get a few Kings start to show up in the river. Now, not very many, but there was talk that someone caught one here, caught one there, and so right now the king salmon should be running. And once they start, it ain't long after that the sockeyes and the chums start coming, and they'll run till about July 20th, roughly, and then by that point, at any time the silvers can start showing up, and they can spread themselves out for quite
All
a
the way
ways.
through moose season, basically.
I've seen runs of silvers happen literally at the end of moose season. All of a sudden, there's a push of silvers come flying up the river.
Mm-hmm.
So you're pretty much done though until the fall.
Yeah, I'll probably end up going back up their fall, the beginning of August, to start punching in camps.
Yeah, I picked him up
ready.
from the airport, and he had like one tote, just like I had a pair of boots and some rain gear up there that I wanted back down here, and that was all he had. I was like, "You didn't bring anything back?" He's like, I'm going back up in a couple months. What's the point of lugging all that crap back here?"
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh,
Cheaper.
that's $75 to put your luggage on the plane and take it up there. So, yeah,
Might as well leave it.
So where do you leave it for months at a time?
Mike has a house in Ekwok,
Okay.
so we leave it there because
Basically,
he
we'll-
lives up there from April through September. Because he's
Understandable.
if
He's
he's doing spring bear. He does the fishing trips all summer, and then into fall and bear and moose season. So he needed a place to be, so he bought himself a little house up there, and it's not much
In
more
the
than
happening town of Ekwok.
Yeah, I think there's about 75 people live there. I don't know how many people live there, but but it does everything we need it to do. It's a
Yeah.
place of operations, a place to store boats, fix boats, keep gear,
Yeah.
things of that nature. So
Good.
But no, I'm looking forward to this fall's hunt. So they'll be a lot of fun. But
So you said you really enjoyed the spring hunt. You plan on
I'm
going up
looking forward to doing it again.
really?
Okay. Was this your first spring hunt?
This type of hunt, yeah.
Okay.
This is the first time I've done anything like this, and if I were an archery hunter that wanted to shoot a brown bear, this is what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
I would try to get into that earliest season that I could, and like I said, it's not going to be the most exciting thing on the planet. It's going to be a game of patience.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I mean that
As is-
tricks
that's-
some people's trigger. I mean, if you're a
Yeah.
whitetail hunter, that's what you're used to.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say that's how whitetail hunting with archery is.
Yeah.
You're just sitting and waiting most of the time. So
no, but a lot of times in the fall we can do a spot and stalk hunt up in the tundra in the mountains or something. Go find that bear that's feeding on.
So if you're more
berries and-
adventurous,
Yeah,
better
yeah.
shape maybe.
Yeah,
the
but
fall
if-
might
if-
be for you.
Yes, and even in our fall hunts, our best bears are usually shot off those moose carcasses after someone harvests a moose. We start camping on them again. And like I said, again, it's not the most exciting thing, but it's patience.
Very
pays
I mean,
off.
effective.
it depends on, I guess, what your number one goal to hunt Alaska is. If it's to see the tundra, or if it's to
Right.
explore Alaska, or if it's to come home with a brown bear. You kind of have to decide what your
And then just
number
pick,
one
pick
goal.
pick the time of year
Yeah,
that you're
exactly.
going to go up and
What's most important to you about this Alaska hunt, and then use that to judge if you're going to go in the spring or the fall.
yeah, if you're a person of little patience that needs to be moving and seeing things, this hunt's not for you.
Yeah.
If you're a patient, my first client, I'm going to throw your name out there, Kurt. He was from Idaho, and I mean, one of the best clients I've ever had in 22 years of being up there. Kurt was as patient and understanding and easygoing, and and he kept making a comment that really rang true. He kept saying, "I'm going to believe in the process." This is the hunt. This is exactly what I expected it to be. This is your process. I'm going to believe in the process, and we're going to go through this for the next 10 days or until I get my bear.
Mm-hmm. Even if we only see that one bear.
And day 7, and an 8 to 8.5 foot bear walked out, and it was all of what he was hoping to get, and it was like, boom, thank you, and that was it.
Now, will somebody like Kurt stay in camp the rest of the days he's got?
You
allotted?
can. That's up to you. Like I said, you can buy a second tag and stick
going,
around. Or he was actually very busy at home and
Figured if I can get a couple extra days
he
at
was
home.
he was happy to have. He only wanted one bear. He knew that coming up, and so he was tickled pink, thrilled, and off he went with what he came
Nice.
for. So, but yeah, really enjoyed Kirk's.
I knew that when
Kurt's
you name
company.
dropped that it was going to be a good experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I tell you what, I have been, I mean, terribly, terribly lucky with the clientele that I've had over the years. I always seem to be able to find something to connect with people on
Well, I mean,
and focus on that. I mean,
it's what you're going up there for. Your passion is hunting. You hope to believe that the people that go there, their passion is hunting.
no, it's very rare that
There's bad
I've
apples
seen
in
some-
anything, but yeah.
No, but and I tell the guys up there this all the time. I believe that if you focus on the positive things in people, you're going to have a better experience. I mean, none of us are perfect. You know, I mean, I got
Yeah.
my faults, you got yours, everybody's got faults. So at that point, we've all got a choice. I can sit and focus on what I don't like about someone, or I can focus on what I do like about them. Well, it's going to be a much better experience if I focus on what I do like.
Yeah, because
And
you
then-
can't get away from this person. You
Right,
are
you're
stuck
there.
with them for
Right,
10
so
days.
Let's build on that. And with a little luck, he won't focus on my shortcomings. And he'll look for the things that, you know, and it's worked out really good for me over the years. Like I said, I've been really, really fortunate with the clientele that I've had that, you know, even some of the people on day one or day two that I'm going, oh boy, you know, by the end of the hunt, we were happy to be together, you know, and it turned out, you know what, this wasn't so bad. I just had to look at things a little different, and we always seem to find common ground, and
Yeah.
it works out really, really good. So, now I look forward to this fall, but yeah. So if you guys are looking for an archery hunt on a bear,
That's the way
I'm
to
telling
go.
you, this is the one I would do. If I were going to go up there to try to shoot a bear, of the different hunts that I've done, this is the one I would pick.
I've always wanted to kill a bear with a bow. I can't say I've done any work to make that happen, but it's one of those. It's, you know,
Unfortunately, it's not getting any cheaper.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I've got like a list of, you know, maybe top 5 things, and in my list of like hunts I want to do, number 1 being some sort of sheep hunt. Probably because if I ever get the opportunity to sheep hunt, it's going to be one time and I'll never be able to afford to do it again. So I want to do a Marco Polo sheep. Just, you know, go for a big one. And I think their hunts start at like 14,000 foot or something. I mean, just absolutely
Way up.
way up there. And then also in that top 5 is bear with a bow.
Well, you can take this for whatever it's worth, but I tend to tell everybody the same thing. If you're going to do something for the first time, and, you know, and we get guys that are passionate bow hunters, you know, and I get it because I prefer bow hunting over everything else. But if this is something you can only do one time, I'm going to suggest you put as many things in your favor as possible and bring a rifle.
For day 8, 9, and 10.
You know, so
Yeah.
that, you know, you don't want to be there and the bear of your dreams or the sheep of your dreams or moose of your dreams hangs up out there at 100 yards broadside looking at you for 5 minutes, and you've got a stick and a string in your hand.
There's a lot of truth to be to that.
Yeah.
Notice my sheep hunt was not with a bow.
You know, and like I said, I've got nothing against archery. I would prefer to archery hunt over everything else. But if it's something you can only do once, you know, or you need to be that person who considers that just
The
as much
encounter,
success as
Shooting it.
shooting it. You know, if you can truly look at that and go, boy, I was here, I did it. You know, if I would have,
Had the right.
in my mind, cheated and gone to the rifle, I would have
Could have
had
been
that
over.
in. So I'm good with it. It was a success. Then that's fine. You
I guess
know?
it goes back to
But you really got to
what's
put it all
important
in,
to you. Yeah.
Yes, you got to put it in perspective, and you got to think what's important to me. And
If the number 1 thing is coming home with a bear, maybe bring a rifle.
you might want to bring a rifle. So
No. But it sounds like the way it's set up that archery hunting is doable for that.
Yeah.
it
for
is,
Sure.
and like I said, I'm not saying it's going to be easy,
No,
know.
but it's
but
The setups
doable.
are definitely a lot easier to find the right situation.
it's easier to manage this setup than a lot of the other scenarios you can play into
Yeah.
at different times of the year and different places. So,
Mm-hmm.
and again, it's another one of those things. If you're someone who's not in perfect health, and just can't go,
Running around the tundra for 3 days.
right. I'm fortunate that even though I'm not a little person, I can still climb hills and I get around pretty darn good.
Yeah, I feel you there.
And but not everybody can do that. And so again, this hunt would be something that if your health isn't letting you do some of those more extreme hunts, this is something you can still handle.
Mm-hmm.
So
Good.
Nice.
but,
Well, I appreciate you taking an hour out of your time to talk to us and stuff.
Oh
It's
God, no!
you've always you bring like Alaska to the table, which is really nice because it's not everybody's got somebody that's got as much experience. And in real time experience, it's not like you're like, 40 years ago I used to go up to Alaska all the time. It's like, no, you're actively.
No,
you
just-
got
just
back
got
home.
back, and I'm planning the next one.
Yeah, so it's really cool that we can sit down and talk about it each and every time when you get back and share the experience because
Well,
it's
hopefully we'll have a good moose hunt. And,
Yeah,
Be
have
able
plenty
to-
to talk about in the fall.
yeah.
good.
Yep.
Well,
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
yeah, appreciate you
Appreciate
joining
it.
us
No,
again.
thanks.
Look forward to the next one.
All right.
With that being said, thank you guys for all listening, and make sure you guys are all getting outside.